Okay, let's go.
Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new series. Today we are finally getting going at round one of the GPBikes PSB Championship. It's a championship that in all honesty should have happened probably a long time ago, but finally it is happening in the winter of 2025 and I'm very excited to be here for round one on a very good track that is Donington Park. So you can see from the intro we are aboard the Ducati V4R. We're riding as Glen Urban. So the rules for this championship is that you ride the official rider and you have your own helmet. So you can see I have my own MotoGP helmet on, the Irish kind of tricolour and a few bits, and we're riding as Glen Urban. So very exciting times. Obviously most of you would know if you're long-time viewers, haven't been in the league since would have been the R6 championship. That was pretty much the super sport one that everyone was on, the R6, which I managed to win. Now coming into this one, I feel like in the last 8-9 months I've probably gotten a bit slower and people around me have gotten a bit faster. So like the goal for this series really is a podium, one singular podium. I don't feel like that I'm going to be in contention for the championship, and I feel like the pace is decent, but I'm not going to blow anyone out of the water. I feel like maybe on my day, if I can survive a few incidents, I could get a podium if things go my way, but I don't think on raw pace I'll be really pushing the front guys for any parts of this season. But here we are now in the end of qualifying. P8, a second off, which on a track that I know very well, I was a bit disappointed. I got a really good lap in. It was just the speed of the others. Now you see me here in the warm-up lap and it looks like I'm going really slow, and what I've done here, right, somehow in a previous session on my own, I'm going to point out I was on my own, I turned down my own bike audio and turned up the other bikes. So I've actually really put myself in a sticky situation here in this race, and at this point in the race I've realised it and I can't fix it. So I can't really hear my bike and I can hear everyone else's bike tenfold. And you're probably thinking to yourself, well, like, it's not that hard, but like a lot of the rear wheels spinning and the RPM is all muscle memory off what the audio is doing. So if you can't hear your bike, it's a massive disruption. So coming into this race, after the warm-up lap there, the sighting lap, when I realised I couldn't hear my bike very well, it was just an extra thing I didn't need, because I qualified P8. I was probably a little further down the grid than I wanted to, so I was a little bit just stressed extra for coming into this one. But here we are now on the grid. Lovely little scenery shot here of the British flag, and now taking off for round one. A couple of wheelies there and a few people getting a bit of a bad start, but we actually got a belt of a start. I think the V4 has always been very good, and down to turn one into P3. But again there, just I can't hear the bike, end up spinning it up coming out of Red Gate, and the part-time rider Billy Jones on the ZX10 slides underneath me. Foxer on the OMG R1 slides up as well, so we drop back to 5th. So unfortunately, very good start, and then big mistake there coming out of turn 1 has cost us, but so far so good. We've gone from 8th to 3rd to 5th, so not too bad overall. And one thing that's big thing with this mod is the tyres. So if you go softer, it's not always necessarily more grip. It's a lot bit dependent on tyre pressure and tyre temperature, and we only have short little practice sessions, and as the track rubber's in, the tyre changes. So it's really hard. I find it really hard to get the right tyres. But enough about tyres. Into Foggy's for first lap. Unfortunately, Triton riding on the RC4 just gets a bit hot and rides across the grass, and that's one position game back. And Billy then on the Kawasaki finds out what happens when you try and push a Kawasaki for a whole season, and into turn the penultimate turn just goes straight on. Very lucky not to take out the R1 in front. So we're back up to 3rd. 2 passes that I didn't actually make, but we'll take them nonetheless, because I was hoping at this point I was like, right, after dropping back a bit now, I should be able to get my rhythm a bit better now. I can actually hear the bike, and it wasn't long though before basically they're on the back of me once again, and their bike audio was ridiculous, because I think fairly quickly in this lap I could hear them straight away, and I was trying to think to myself, look, they're not that close. I remember coming down through Hollywood here in Crane, I was like, they're actually not that close, it's just the audio, it's just a kind of bit of a mental thing they need to get rid of. It's like, they're not actually that close. I think down into the old hairpin you'll just see someone appear, it might be next corner actually, but basically there we are, number 10 there I believe was, just sticks his head in. So then I'm like, right, he actually is right there, so I'm under pressure. So fortunately then I just started to ride a little bit tight, bit of a moment there coming in to McLean's touch wide, and once again Billy is all over my rear swing arm. So you can see there we're getting blue flagged. Unfortunately this track, the grid position starts off a little bit too far up the grid, which means some people start ahead of the start lights, and some people start behind, so you end up with some people on different laps and that's the blue flag. So unfortunately that just needs to be ignored and the results will be changed at the end. Into the chicane, unfortunately Triton makes another mess, kills Billy, and then again I was thinking to myself, look, in a way this is perfect. Now I have a bit of a gap. Now that is Endrick sliding through, but again Triton has just been a meals of it and poor Billy got smacked up. But I did feel like I was struggling, so I was thinking, right, look, Fox ahead now. My teammate Gonzalo Molina is absolutely pissed right off into distance, so he was done, he was gone, there was no catching him. But I was thinking if I can just keep a steady pace now, try and kind of keep the R1 on my little mini map there on my eye line, we might have a bit of a chance of kind of getting away with these front guys and kind of making a race of it. But as we come down in here, tyres come back to bite me. Throughout this race, just didn't feel like I had the right front tyre in. Touch wide, didn't feel like I was over the front. And unfortunately, that was the first crash. Now we jumped to lap 5 and we're quite a bit down. Again, I can't really say what position because the timing screen is all messed up. It says we're P11, P12 me and Luke Coyd Rock, but not too sure exactly where it is because some people who are lap down are actually saying they're leading. For example, Gonza Molina is leading, but if you look at the timing screen, he's nowhere near the top 4, so it's all a bit of a mess. But we have got back up to the FHO BMW radar. My pace at this point is just a bit better, and we're not doing too bad. Obviously, after remounting, I've kind of realised that I was kind of a bit of a sticky situation where the tyres weren't working great for me. I didn't feel like I had great stability in the front end, and I was having a few moments on the rear which I wasn't really having elsewhere. So again, track conditions, wind as well as a big thing. The wind with being a kind of the BSB championship, I think the wind is being used extra strong in some races, and I felt like it is really noticeable. You think in a game wind probably wouldn't pay any effect, but a headwind, a tailwind, a crosswind, it actually really affects the way the bike handles, which is it's cool in a way, but it is very difficult. You can see there again out of the oil hairpin, just I try to pick up the power the rear end, gives me a little warning again. So I'm not fully comfortable at this point in the race, and it's just this first race is always a bit of a unknown in a way, because you don't know how the bike's going to handle. You can do as many long runs as you want in practice, but really it's not until you get to lights out the first race. And we caught up to Luke Coyd Rock pretty quick, but now I've got there, it's actually not the easiest thing in the world to pass on these BSB bikes, because you don't have traction control. If you don't know about BSB, there's no electronics, no anti-wheeling, no traction, so it's very skill based, and this mod is very difficult in ways, and I think overtaking is quite hard. And unfortunately down into the front of the corner, Luke Coyd Rock does go a bit wide, so we just open up our line there, run out to the curb, just kind of block off any chance of him coming back, and we do hold the position, which whatever position it is at the moment I don't actually know, but it's a good little overtake there that was given to us by Luke Coyd Rock. So now we have a bit of clear air, so the plan for me now was just to put the head down. We're not really half race distance yet, but we're just wanting to push on. Yellow flag ahead. Unfortunately, it would have been quite a short track. There's a couple of riders that we will have to lap, and I believe this is the first one. I think that's Blitz, I believe he is. So unfortunately, he just a crash on the infield there, probably just coming into Hollywood, and that was enough for us to gain a position back and a lap on him. So again, the timing screen's been broken. It was one of those races that we probably all had at some point where you can't really trust any of the data you're being given. You just need to kind of go flat out till the end and use the race map on the right there. I was kind of glancing at that a few times, and you can see there again, massive slide from the rear. I have to have a big look at Luke Coyd, and he comes up my outside, and I just release the brake back into Coppis just to make sure I keep the position. But again, just trying to up the ante slightly, and the rear tyre says no, so I was very lucky there I didn't get sent airborne, because I think I'm on an SC1 rear, and it's very stiff compound. It's a good tyre, but just I think the tyre pressures were slightly off, which affects the temperature, which affects overall grip. And you can pumping there out of foggies. Looks cool, not very nice when you're on the bike, because you're just fighting for grip the whole time with this V4. So I was constantly pushing and just trying to get it to grip and stuff. And out of these slower corners here, you probably just see a lot of times I leave black lines out there. You can just see the rear just pitter-patting, dancing around, fighting for a bit of grip. And unfortunately into the final corner this time again, it's just a bit of a messy couple of laps between me and Luke Coyd Rock. Just managed to keep the position again on the outside, and 26.6, so the pace has dropped. So like kind of for the whole race really, I was doing low 26s, high 25s when I was kind of getting good race runs in. So again, you could see that slide coming out of cleans really cost us a bit of time. But like I was saying, really it's one of those races you just couldn't take anything for granted. You just didn't know who was what and where and everything at time. So you like the bike in front of me here I'm catching, I don't know who it is, don't know if he's for a position, he's a lap down. And as the race went on, as people got spread out, you could kind of look at the map and kind of see At the moment you can see number 46 is kind of the lead of this pack, which is my teammate Gonzalo Molina, who's Tommy Bridle of course, and then you have 77, which is one of the R1s, which I do believe then was Foxer. So then you just start to think to yourself, and then there's number 18, that's one of the Hondas, that's someone off there on the left. I believe he was a lap rider because he went flying off. 18 then is Uber on the, I think he's on Andy Irwin's bike. So as the race goes on, you kind of get a bit of an idea just from looking at the map of what's going on. And unfortunately, green flag, yellow flag there, so I think that is Luke Rock after taking a bit of a tumble into the foggy S's as we'll watch it back. Unfortunately, just gets a bit of a moment on the brakes, gets slightly up into the curb and very high on the curb in front and lock. So that was that really for me. We jumped out to lap 12. I think our pace wasn't too bad as the race went on. We dropped back to low 26s, and like I said, there was kind of no kind of inclination if I was near people. Got a yellow flag here, and again, wasn't really too concerned who it was. And I saw it was a Honda, and then I knew it was Uber, who was one of the very, very fast guys in this championship. So I was pretty happy to see him behind me, because I knew at this point now I was like, I must be near the podium, because there can't be that many guys still ahead of me after my little crash, because a lot of the guys had other incidents as well and dropped back as well. So we now jump to the 14th lap of 16. I think in the end we did like 17 laps because of if you start ahead of the track lights, you have to do a whole lap for it to register you've started the lap. So usually it's a bit of a weird one, so fueling was a bit of an issue. But we're coming down now to foggies, and at this point in the race, look, 26.7, I've kind of rolled off. I know myself that Uber didn't have enough kind of to catch me, and well, N-Jerk front has an almighty crash. Just look at this.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you something.
So unfortunately for him, the fastest man of the race weekend, I think coming into it, he really had a bit of time on everyone. Bit of a rough race, and end up having a big crash out of P2, and that's him just ahead of me there in the penultimate corner. And at this point now I'm thinking, right, let's fire this back up, let's kind of get ourselves in gear, let's see what we actually have. The tyres are worn now, we should have a bit of an advantage maybe with this bike. I think on fresh tyres this bike is a bit of a handful. As the tyre wear comes in, I think in some aspects the bike can get better and worse, unfortunately. But I think, no, 2 laps ago, let's give it a bit of time. I know myself at this point everything had kind of settled down. I could see the gap. I had pretty much the whole of the start finish straight back to the guy behind me. So I'm in right gate and he's only coming into the last corner, so I knew I could afford a little tip off if needed to try and catch N-Jerk, because I knew at this point Molina was leading, Foxer was second, and then we had N-Jerk in third. So I'm like, that's the podium head. So like at this point it was full attack. And I must say, whether he had tyre issues, some fuel issues, or if he just kind of rolled off at the end, I was catching him quite quick. You know, this lap turns out to be a very fast, I think this is the fastest lap I do of the race, which is quicker than my qualifying time, which is quite impressive with 15 laps on a set of tyres. But I was just surprised at his, like, he's coming back to me quite quickly, and like I didn't expect to kind of catch him. I was hoping that maybe I could maybe pressure him into another mistake, but at this one he just looked quite slow. Now again, he could be just bringing this race home, you just don't know after having one crash, a bit of confidence lap. But like, he was, when he crashed, when we came through here, he was already in the penultimate corner, whereas now we're just a couple, well, not a couple of bike lengths, like, but like he's well there. Like, we're really pulling him in at a rapid rate of knots. He's a bit wide there again, so I was just starting to think, is the tyre gone off? Is he just struggling a bit more than me? And this is just giving me, like, I feel like now I'm invincible, I can't do anything wrong, and like braking really aggressively on the curb. Again, it looks maybe a touch wide there, brings back for a bit of an apex, so he looked okay there, but I'm again spinning the rear tyre, and I think we do it 25.4, so again, real fast lap time. Like I said, faster than my qualifying lap, and this is the final lap, so now I'm giving it absolutely everything to catch him. Big risk everywhere, because I know really probably not easy overtakes, but I'm just kind of hoping if I can kind of get to him, I can just really attack straight away and just not really focus on passing him, just try and attack immediately. And in fairness, he's kind of stemmed the bleeding at the start of this lap. He's not really lost any time to me, so I think he's just picked it up. But I feel like it was the second half of the lap, pretty much where he crashed to the finish line, is where he's having a bit of an issue. And then we saw a yellow flag, and I got a bit excited. It might be one of the guys in front, and it is actually Molina, who's got taken out unfortunately by a lap rider. So a lap rider in front crashed, and unfortunately Molina just got collected by his bike. And again, we have gained a small bit on N-Jerk, but I'm just thinking now it's a bit too late, so I'm going to have to basically, like, pretty much straight line foggies, which is essentially what we do. We brake pretty deep, and we fly in loads of entry curb. He's a bit more gingerly, I think, just kind of protecting it, and we really gain time through here. And again, another heavy braking zone in here. It's kind of unfortunate it came this late in the race, but again, look how much we gain on him. I'm risking so much considering I've had a crash. We're right on him, and coming out there and thinking to myself, right, I'm just going to have to brake ridiculously deep into one of the most frustrating and awkward corners. And yeah, we go on the grass. It was never going to work. It was one of those ones where I was like, I'm going to try something. Provided I don't hit him, I'm not really too concerned. I knew at this point, I was like, yeah, it's still going to be P4. I was pretty happy. I just wanted to try something. I knew the gap back to Uber was probably like 10-12 seconds. So up to line we come, and it is P6 on track, but it's actually P4 in the race. So you can see there on the graphics, there's no time gaps because everything was up in the air with the timing over starting a lap ahead, a lap behind, and all that. But an interesting opening race. The Belgian, Fox on the R1, actually wins after Malin leading everything bar half a lap at the end. So really unfortunate for my Spanish teammate that he lost that one, because he got to the front at the start and just put in a really impressive race pace. I did go look back at his lap times, and I'm just looking at it going like, I can't do that. So all the issues I'm having to GeForce, he's somehow riding around them. So must feel like Pecco at the moment. At the moment, I just can't really do what that little Spanish guy on the Ducati is doing. So in fairness, really good for Malin. Unfortunately, he lost the win, but Endrick does in the end round out the podium. Recovered well at the end there, just to kind of stave off my late attacks with a couple of laps ago. I get P4, which the Grand Scheme team qualified 8, went forward, had a small crash. If it didn't have the crash, maybe could argue it could have got second or third, but that is how it goes. But overall, when I look back, the race pace was pretty good. We battled quite a bit with Lukai Rock, who ended up outside the top 10. I think he had a couple more crashes at the end, and I was just, my lap times were pretty much what I could do. So I kind of knew myself that I didn't need a whole lot on the table. I just knew myself that I wasn't comfortable over, 1, the tyres, and 2, the weird audio. Then I kind of messed up. Uber on the Fireblade was in P5. Bunta, the other satellite Ducati, Christian in came on P6. Triton on the Aprilia, really fast all weekend, has been really fast in all the testing, but it just came to the race. I think he had a couple more collisions with people later on in the race, took out a couple of guys. So probably one of those ones we built up a bit ahead of steam and just fortunately didn't kind of come to fruition this race. But we know that we will see the Aprilia in other rounds. Biker on Davy Todd's BMW comes home in P8, and the Gat in P9 aboard the other Fireblade. So overall, a good, interesting round 1, a lot to learn. Coming into the next round at Silverstone, which is round 2, there's just a lot on the table really that I need to fix. One thing I need to get better is qualifying. Being a second off my teammate on the same bike, same tyres, it's a bit worrying at a 1 minute kind of 25 lap. There's a lot on the table there, so that's the one thing I need to find, just a couple of percentage in qualifying to overall make it a bit more close, so I can actually give myself a better chance at the start, because I know if I can get to start and get away with the front guys, I can do the race pace when it comes to the race, because I'm much better at racing than I'm qualifying. So if I can just give myself the opportunity, that's kind of where I hope it goes. But anyway guys, I'm going to leave it there for round 1 of the BSB Championship. We'll be back in a week's time from Silverstone for round 2. So thank you all for watching, hope you have enjoyed, see you in the next one. So long and full.